Obviously, great time of year. Springtime is always exciting for us, especially when you have a lot of new faces. You know, with 15 new players, got a couple new coaches, and you know you're trying to figure out what's this team going to look like this time around. And so, you know, this is the beginning phases of it all. We got plenty of work to do in all three phases, but the intent I thought was really good by the guys today. I thought there was good energy. I do really like the leadership on this team from where we were and how certain guys have kind of evolved into more of a leadership role. So that's been really encouraging. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to everything that's happening to our spring sports right now. I mean, everybody's just kicking butt. Vic Schaefer, women's basketball, winning the championship. Great win for our men's basketball team Saturday, beating Kansas and getting the 2 seed in the tournament. So all those things are great, like I've touched on. This university is amazing when you talk about just the how high of a level everybody competes at. And we're just trying to hold up our end of the bargain with that. You know, a couple things I think that are worth noting, you know, that I wasn't able to talk about were kind of 3 new additions to the team from the last time that we spoke on A.D. Mitchell, Jalen Catalon, and Warren Roberson. I think 3 really good additions to the team that came kind of after the new year, and got 2 of them here now, and A.D. and Jalen, and we'll get Warren here in the summer. So we're really pumped about that. Really pumped about the addition of Chris Jackson as the receiver coach. And the wealth of experience he brings and bringing a little bit more of an NFL mentality to it, which I think is good for our players. And then the addition of Jamal Fenner as our Director of High School Relations, who has been a great addition, did a heck of a job at LBJ, so to have him on board going. From an injury standpoint, I know that's always one of the key questions, you know, just a couple things on that with guys that are either limited or out right now with spring. Jonathan Brooks coming off of surgery after the bowl game. Obviously, Catalon is limited right now, coming off of his injury last season. Gilbo is rehabbing well with his knee injury. We're pleased with where he's at. Darian Gillette, obviously, coming in with his knee injury. Cole Hudson coming off of surgery after the bowl game. Malik Murphy is still nursing a little bit with his foot, so we're being mindful of that. Isaiah Nair, would love where he's at right now and the work that he's putting in from a rehab standpoint. Robertson, again, coming off of surgery post-bowl game. And then Keelan Robinson, we're just monitoring a little bit of a strain and being mindful of him. And then the one guy it was great to have back out there today, which you guys didn't know, and I tried to protect this throughout the season, but Xavier had a broken hand essentially the second half of the season. And so to get him back out there, he was in a cast for about 8 weeks or roughly. So to get him back out there practicing full speed, which was awesome. So a lot of stuff. I know we were just getting back together, so hopefully I was able to touch on some of those things that are of interest to you.
Sark, I wanted to start with leadership, something you touched on earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned that part. Some of the guys you lost off of last year's team, Roshan, Bijan, maybe Keandre Coburn, some of these veteran guys were around. Who are you seeing stepping into those roles, and what is it that you've seen that makes you like where your team is in that regard?
Well, I think one thing is now we're going into year 3. A lot of these guys have had a model of what it looks like, right? When we first got here, they were still trying to figure out what leadership meant to us. And so that was a real task for the Roshans of the world, the Demos of the world, to try to learn it without having a visual. A lot of these guys now know what it looks like and what the expectation is of them. So whether you're talking Jaron Thompson, obviously Jalen Ford, you know, I think what Sweat is providing up front, those guys have all done a great job. Baron Sorrell has really stood out to me of what that looks like. You know, offensively, Jordan Whittington naturally, Jake Majors naturally, Christian Jones naturally. I mean, I think those guys all provide a lot of vocal leadership, but a lot of guys provide leadership of what it looks like to go to work every day and how to practice. You know, I think Xavier's a great example of that. We don't have a guy that works harder. That's the first guy on the field, the last guy off. I think you're seeing it with Keelan Robinson. Even though he's limited right now, I've watched him mature from his days when we were back at Alabama as a true freshman. So that's the part as a coach that is really gratifying, is when you see these young men grow right, and mature throughout their time in a program, not only in their play, but who they are off the field as well and how they can help the younger players.
That list of injuries that you gave, are all those guys limited or are any of those guys out for the spring?
Well, I think that the ACL guys, I'm going to say they're out, but we're going to try to do some work with them. But the rest of them, hopefully we can get them back. There's a reason we started spring ball this week, and we'll go 3 practices. We'll get spring break, and then we'll go 4 more. So it really stretches out over a 6-week period. So I'm hopeful with some of these guys we can get them back kind of the second half of spring.
With Worthy, you mentioned the hand injury last year. How much did that kind of hamper him in the season, and what did he show you working through that, still playing every game?
Well, I think anytime you're a receiver and you're playing with a broken hand, I mean, that's a pretty important aspect of your game. And that guy never wanted to sit out, not play. He came to work. He fought through it. There were days in practice where we purposely didn't throw him balls just to take some of the pressure off of it. But I think we're going to see a version of Xavier Worthy that's going to be dramatically different now that he's healthy.
Sark, in terms of the receivers coach position, what was it about Chris Jackson that made him the guy you wanted? And considering every year now you've had a new receivers coach, how important was finding stability at that point?
It has not been ideal, I'll say that. When for a lot of our kids, Xavier, Jordan, 3 years, 3 different receiver coaches. So one was stability. 2 was the experience of coaching at the NFL level and what that looked like from a developmental standpoint for our players. I like his presence. I like his command. I think he shows a great deal of maturity, but still has a lot of youth to the way he goes about his business.
Sark, when you talk about the running back position, obviously with Brooks out, but what have you seen from C.J. Baxter in the winter conditioning and up to this point, and Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I think C.J. has provided a real mature mindset to everything that he does. He's not. He doesn't feel like a freshman right now. I mean, he works hard in winter conditioning. He's got a 4.0 GPA. He went out and practiced, no nonsense today. So all those things positives of the things that we thought he would be in recruiting. I think the move of Xavier Worthy to running back is beneficial for him and our program, in that, when you really look at his body stature and structure, he's kind of built more like a running back. He carried the ball quite a bit as a high school kind of quarterback, so I think it fits his game well. But that's not taking anything away from Jaden Blue. I feel good about where he's at in his development. And then we'll get Keelan back, and we'll get Jonathan Brooks back, and we'll start moving in a positive direction that way.
Coach, what areas would you like to see Quinn kind of grow and develop maybe this spring? And then can you give me your just first impression of Arch out there?
Yeah, that's fair. I think from a quarterback standpoint, that Quinn had a really good winter, where, it's like anything. He was essentially a true freshman this time last year for us. And so there's a lot on his mind that it's like when the gears are moving, but there's no WD-40 in there, as those gears were grinding. And it felt that way for him pretty much all year long. This winter, it just feels natural. He's throwing the ball well. I think he's emerging as a leader. I'm watching him break the team down. I'm watching him do those things, which is positive. And I think what he's done, he's serving for Arch of, hey, this is what it looks like, and this is how to go about your business. And for Arch today, day one, there's some plays for sure that he would love to have back. And there's some other plays that he made, I think everybody was like, wow, that was a heck of a play. So, again, true freshman, should still be in high school, but he brings definitely a worker's mentality, and he wants to be really good at this game.
He obviously had a unique look, and then what was your impression when he decided to get the haircut? And do you think that's kind of a sense of him maybe taking it more seriously coming into this season?
I think that was one of the unfortunate things with Quinn. Quinn's a great kid. He's a great teammate. He's really coachable. But one thing we had talked about is sometimes that your appearance / perception precedes you, and then you almost have to overcome yourself, right? And so all of a sudden now the guy gets a haircut and he cleans his beard up a little bit, and everyone thinks Quinn's real serious right now. But that's human nature, right? So I give him a lot of credit for recognizing what he needs to do from a developmental standpoint, but it's never been a question of kind of him taking this serious. He wants to be really good. He wants to be a leader on this team. He wants to win a championship with these guys, and that doesn't change what he does on a day-to-day. But appearance is what it is, and so I do think him recognizing that shows some maturity of kind of his approach to what he's doing.
Yeah, former quarterback
Xavier Worthy.
yourself,
Xavier Worthy, sorry. Do you think it's a permanent position, or do you think it's going to become like kind of a utility player?
Well, I think the one thing for Savion Red that it's going to do, he spent a year playing wide receiver for us. Now we're going to train him at running back, and the goal is that we have a guy that can do both. That maybe we can put some pressure on defenses when he's on the field. What, where, and what, and how are we going to be, and what formations are we going to be in? We had a real luxury with Roshan and Bijan. Those guys were natural route runners and could catch the ball and were very smart and could line up all over the field. We like that in our offense, so we have to generate that. We have to recreate that different ways, and this is one of the ways that we can.
as a former quarterback yourself, how much did the game slow down for you between your first year on campus and your second?
A lot. 2 times. My first year at junior college, when I went back to playing, we were 2-8, and I was contemplating, do I still want to do this sport? My second year, I was Player of the Year and All-American, got a chance to go to BYU. I went to BYU my first year there. We were a 7-4 team. Didn't go to a bowl game for the first time, and I don't know how long. BYU had the record of going to bowl games. The next year, I'm an All-American. We finished 5th in the country and win the Cotton Bowl. So I think naturally the quarterback's development and confidence affects everybody else. And so hopefully, we see that progression with Quinn.
Why did you go to a bowl game with 7 wins? What happened?
I don't know. I can't remember. I think it was a bunch of teams tied or something.
Is quarterback an open competition, or is it Quinn's job?
They all are open right now. I mean, I'm not worried about, who's going to be on the cover of what magazine next week. I'm more focused on, or is each guy focusing on what they need to do to develop to be the best player that they can be. It's like anything. Quinn has an entire year of a head start, but I don't want to hold Arch back. I want to see how far he can take this thing and what it could look like.
What has he
talk
shown you
about
so
the
far in the
additions
first few
of-
months about his ability to compete at this level so far?
Well, I think it's like anything. There's growing pains, we make a big deal out of the guy losing his ID twice the first couple weeks of school, So he's a freshman in college, but he does take it serious and he wants to be really good. And the beauty of it, the guy, one of the guys he's competing with is taking it really serious and wants to be really good. And that competition should ultimately drive the best out of both of them. And that's what we're trying to create in our program at every position group. Because when you have that, that's when your level of play continually goes up and up and up. That's when you start seeing combine numbers go up from schools because you recruit well. You have a competitive environment. They all get better along the way.
And where does Malik fit in? I know obviously he's banged
Yeah.
up right now, and he's been banged up sometimes since he's been here. But where does he fit into this room?
Well, the biggest thing for us, I just want to get the guy healthy because when he is healthy, he's really talented. He's very good. He's a great teammate. He has natural leadership qualities about him that I want him to be able to show on a consistent basis on the field. So he'll be in the mix when he can get back.
Can you talk about the additions of Catalan and Gavin Holmes?
Yeah.
And what you've seen from them?
Well, you love experience in the back end, and we felt like that was something we needed. Gavin, it was a high-level player at Wake Forest. You see his confidence already on the field. Catalan, natural leader. We're in winter conditioning, and he's coaching guys on the side on specific drills and why we're doing the drills. And that's what we were hopeful that we would be getting. A little bit more vocal in the back end and a little bit more confident player to play the style that we want to play.
Coach, on the receivers that you've added, obviously,
Yeah.
and you can include Isaiah in that group too. Since he's
Yeah,
coming back.
it's a good group. You bring A.D. Mitchell in, and I think we all know what he's capable of. We'll see how far he can go. Jonte and DeAndre Moore both look really good. They're serious about their craft and feel good about kind of where they were after day one today. We get Isaiah Nair back, who I think we all had high hopes for a year ago at this time, and he's running well. He's working hard. And then we get the addition of Ryan Niblett here in the summer. So I definitely feel like that group took a step in a positive direction, and to get Jordan Whittington back for one more year. to get that veteran experience. So all positive on that front.
Coach, do you feel like you guys have good depth at just about every position, through recruiting, transfer polls, stuff like that? And also, what of the position groups would you have a little bit of concern about this spring?
I like our depth on our team. I think that we've done a good job managing the roster from a numbers perspective. Sometimes you'd like to be a little older at some positions and what that looks like. I think that's one of the unique things that we're all still wrapping our heads around as coaches. There's a whole nother second transfer portal to come that not only can affect us positively, but can affect us negatively too. So we have to be mindful of that. I don't want to say like that our roster is set in stone because I don't know what might happen here in a couple months. So we'll continually evaluate it, probably a little too soon to be fair to judge these guys off of one practice that not in pads. But I like our team. I like our depth. Like I said, I think the coaches have done a nice job of managing the position groups to build quality depth with not just talented people, but really good humans, really good people with great character about them.
What would you
Time
say
for
the
two
top
last
two
ones, guys?
priorities are you want to fix or refine?
Well, we've got to improve our passing game. I don't think that I made any bones about that, at the end of last season. We need to be more efficient throwing the football. And whether that's the deep ball, whether that's the intermediate balls, I think that that's a direct reflection of our third down numbers were not as good as we would like. Our red area numbers were not as good as we would like. So we have to definitely sharpen up the passing game. And then I think, too, defensively, continually find ways to affect the quarterback. In this day and age of football, you've got to find a way to get your opposing quarterback uncomfortable. And if that can be a four-man rush, if that means generating more simulated pressures, if that means just pressuring more, whatever that looks like, those two things are paramount. I think that everybody in the room here knows we love to run the football. I think we've gotten to a place now defensively where we're very confident in stopping the run. But now our ability to throw it and then our ability to affect the other team's quarterback are two major factors.
Rushing the passer, who would be in the mix for the buck end position with a Gofu gone?
I don't want to nail that. Just put it all on one or two guys. I think that we've got a good group there. We've got some young players that we're moving around that potentially could play at that spot. And so we're going to let it grow here a little bit. That's probably a better question in a couple weeks or when we come back from spring break when I can really look at it because we're kind of Rolodexing a few guys right now to see what that might look like.
Last one, Jeff.
When you lose two pieces like Roshan and Bijan, kind of what you said about Xavier Worthy, how do you go about replicating that production, staying within your core beliefs as a play caller without trying to get too outside the box and get away from them?
Right. I think that's one of the huge challenges. I've been calling plays in college football for quite some time, and I've never not had a 1,000-yard rusher. So at the end of the day, somebody is going to carry that ball, and the team's going to believe in that guy to carry the ball. But I also think we were out of whack last year. We were not in balance enough, and our inability to take some of the pressure off of the running game with the passing game, that needs to dramatically improve this year if we want to go to where we think we can go.